There are many various methods of how to cast on stitches to make the rib elastic. In this video, I'm going to share with you just one of them that I hope you will find useful for your knitting projects. Can be used for cuffs, hat edges, waistbands and so on. They look more tidy and roundish and stretch very well without losing tightness. Let's start knitting! That's my starting kit. So I have contrast thread that I'm going to use to cast on stitches, and then I will work with the main thread. I do use contrast thread to cast on the first row of stitches, and then we need to take just half of the stitches. For example, let's say we need 40 stitches rib. I'm going to cast just 20 of them and plus 1 to join the round. You can use any method you know to cast on stitches on the needle. Here I have 21 stitches and I will distribute it on the 4 needles because I'm going to need a circle rib. Let's do it. The edge of the first row is inside of this circle, and then we have to hook the first stitch from the left needle, and then we hook the stitch from the right needle at the same time. It can be a little bit tricky. And then the left stitch goes through the right one, like that. And you can fix it here. And we don't need this thread anymore. Then we start working with the main thread. And here you have, we start with a knit stitch. So we just do a knit stitch, the first one. And then you make an extra stitch from the thread, like that. So you just lift it up. Then you do a knit stitch again and lift up the thread. And again, knit stitch and then lift up the thread. It's finished. So what have we done? We cast it on 20 stitches, and now we simply double them. So now we have 40 stitches as we're supposed to have. Now we start with the second row. Before we start, make sure that you have this raised thread here, so you didn't lose it. What do? We just move the first stitch as it is on the right needle, and the second one, the raised thread we had here, we make a purl stitch out of it. The next knit stitch, we just move it to the right needle, and that one we knit as a purl stitch. We do the same with the next. When you move the stitch, the thread, the working thread, has to be behind. The second row is ready. Now we do the third row. It will be a little bit different from the second one. So the first stitch you need as a knit stitch, and the second one, which is a purl stitch, we just move to the right needle, but you have to make sure that the thread is in front of the stitch. So you just move it like that and the thread goes in front of it. You knit the knit stitch and just move the purl stitch on the right needle. Knit stitch. We move the knit stitch to the right needle and we do a purl stitch, removing the knit stitch to the right needle. The thread is behind, and the purl stitch we knit as it is, and again moving the knit stitch and do the purl stitch. Move the knit stitch. The row is ready, and we do the last row of the roundish part, and we repeat the fifth row the same as the third row. We knit the knit stitch and we move the purl stitch, having the thread in front of it. Knit stitch, moving the purl stitch. After this fifth row, we do our normal rip on purl stitch. Just already not complicating. We just alternate the stitches. I think this length is enough for me. I will stop here, but we still have this extra thread. I will just get rid of it, just cut it, and but you already can see how the edge looks like. So you can see it's a bit roundish here because we want it in a specific way. So it looks amazing, and it's stretchy, it's elastic, it's how it's supposed to be.